if especially with the what's your recollection then of Fabulous doing because Bob mentions that um they didn't give what's the DJ I've lost his name
Oh,
now.
DJ Clue.
Clue, yeah, that those are
Yeah.
your guys, but they didn't really tell you guys, okay, looking at sampling, replaying this, and what are your thoughts that you just heard it on the radio, or
Um,
the
well,
fabulous version of
yeah,
it?
I kind of already heard it already because I helped out with the drums, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So I
of
already
the
heard it
okay,
of their version. Like I helped out with the drums, you know what I mean? So I already heard it. And then they had Ashanti on the they had Ashanti on there at first, like if you listen to I think on his album, if you listen to the album,
yeah,
Ashanti is on the song.
yeah.
So
So
what
I've heard
happened
Ashanti's
was,
version, yeah.
yeah. So what happened was, is I was cool with Clue, right? So he was like, "Hey, man, what you think, man?" I was like, "You know what, man? Let me call Tamia, man." I was like, "It'll be a bigger record if Tamia was on there because it was already a hit on it, man. You should make Tamia do the backgrounds." So Irv already had turned it down, man. Like when they decided it was gonna be a single, Irv Gotti turned down Ashanti's version because she already had another single that was gonna come out. So back then they didn't want two songs coming out from somebody because they would be fighting each other, you know what I mean?
On the
So
charts.
once we convinced like the label and Jay and everybody else, like, hey man, it was already a hit. Fabulous Man is doing the record too. You know what I mean? It might be a single. So Tamia did the backgrounds, and then it became a single on Fabulous Man and went number one. I mean, that's the plaque right there.
Yeah.
I
But do you think? But you
don't know if you
think?
can see it now, but yeah.
Yeah. But do you think
What?
Ashanti would have? Does she seem upset that she didn't get to stay on it because it was a big track?
Well, I don't know how she feel, after it came out. You know what I mean? Because it really, really did really good after that. It went number one and pushed his album, as you can see. It went to probably about like 2 million. So, but she already had a single was going to come out, and she was really excited about that already. So she really wasn't tripping like at first. But we
Yeah.
never had that conversation. We never had that conversation because we ended up working with her again. She never mentioned it. Man, she was always just talking about other stuff, man. She never mentioned. She didn't say nothing about the song, man. So I
Yeah.
didn't even know where she stood. You know what I mean? I didn't know if she like was gonna say, "Hey," or if it was on her mind, like, "Hey, how come?" You know what I mean? But I know what it was. She had a single coming out, and I didn't want them to fight against each other. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. But I know that because even recently Tamir Fabulous says, "Oh yeah, we would have used Tamir, but she had a throat in operation, and she says, I've never had a throat operation, so she didn't seem too pleased that she wasn't initially invited to do the single hook on her own record." And the excuse Fabulous said is like, oh, because she had throat surgery, so she wasn't going to be able to do
They always got to come up with something, man, because they know that the fans was gonna be asking. They was like, "Wait, that was a hit on so into you was a hit on Tamia. How come she ain't on there?" You know what I mean?
it. Yeah.
So I'm sure that was added pressure too to put her on there because it was already a hit on her. Why would you have Ashanti do the backgrounds where you could just call Tamia? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So you know what? Speaking of that, man, I'm gonna come all the way around. This is a full circle thing that I'm about to say, but if you think about Quincy, right?
Mhm.
The Brothers Johnson, his albums, Michael Jackson's albums.
Mhm.
If you think about it, man, they had a sound too. And you know who was doing all that? Who was mixing all that stuff? It was Bruce Swedien.
Oh, Bruce Lee,
So Bruce
okay.
Swedien. So when I met him, when I was doing that album right there, that J Lo album, I met
Mhm.
him, right? So I told him, you know what he said, man? It was like he played man. His ears were so crazy, man. He put a record in, man. He was like, said, who did this? He said, Tim and Bob did this, didn't they? He didn't even know who he was, man. That's how crazy his ears was, man.
Mm.
He was like, he said, who did this, man? Tim and Bob? So then I went up to him, man, because he was at the board, right? So then I went up to him, I sat down, and I was like, hey, man, I can't believe I'm in here with you, man. I was like, you know what? I said, can you show me some tricks? He was like, you already know all the tricks. I was like, I want to know your tricks, man. He was like, all right, man, ask me anything and I'll tell you anything. So I incorporated a lot of stuff that he was doing because he was one of the greatest engineers, man. His
Yeah.
ears was crazy, man.
Yeah.
He could hear something and he could tell you who it was, and or he'd be like, oh, that's such and such. Oh, that's this, that. That's another reason why I like, you know what I mean? That I was like, I gotta hone in on my sound and make it better. And that's what made me came up with Slow Down, man. Because I always had that sound. I was messing around with Asian samples when I was in Atlanta. But I didn't think that nobody would like it because everybody was doing all this other stuff. I was like, ain't nobody gonna like this stuff, man. But I had Asian samples, man. I had a gang of Asian samples,
This
man.
is before Timberland.
Oh yeah. I had Asian, Indian, all that weird stuff I had, man. And I always had them, but I just never played them for nobody. So what happened was when we finished Bobby's album, right? Like what happened was I started Bobby's album, and then I think Bob's mom had she had a stroke too. So Bob went to
Mm.
Atlanta. So I started the album, then Bob came back. So then when we finished the album, they was gonna make a what's that song? Can You Touch Me? Because we put LL Cool J on there, right? And I was like, you know what? He's just gonna sound like he's just gonna be a regular dude, man. I was like, now's the time to pull out your Asian stuff. So I just went to go see Hero, right? And when I saw Hero, I heard that sample. So when I heard that sample, I left and I automatically that was when Tower was open. I went and grabbed the soundtrack from Tower, and then I went home real quick, sampled it, put some drums on it, and then I sampled the bass inside the MPC. So I already had the track already done already. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like the way it's going right now,
Yeah.
I can push play right now. I can show you.
Mhm.
It sounds just like it. You know what I mean? Bob just added some guitar to it. So
Yeah.
we didn't even really add no instruments to it. But when Bobby heard it, he was like, "What is that, big bro?" He was like, "Golly, man." I was like, "Y'all like that?" And then the A&R dude that was his name was Poon. I think Bob was talking about Poon Daddy because it was Poon Daddy, Ludacris, and Lala Anthony at the time. They was the
Okay.
biggest. So Poon was like, "Hey man, I ain't never heard nothing like that." So I was surprised that they liked it, man. I was like, "Wow." So I was like, "Okay." So then we kept letting we kept letting it play. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, me and Bob came up with the hook, and then we came up with the verses. But then I made sure I was like, I promised Bobby because Bobby was living with me like the whole time we was doing the album. He was living with me. So when we wake up, I always promised Bobby. I was like, Bobby, you know what? What I'm gonna do? I was like, even if you don't write on it, man, I'm gonna make sure I get you a percentage on this, man, so you can get a publishing deal. I said, and I'm gonna find you a real good publishing deal, man. And I found it for him. He ended up getting like 800 to a million or something like that.
Wow.
And even on songs he didn't even write, I just put his name on it, man, just to help him out. But but what I did was I took the record and I went to that one. PJ Butter was like one of the biggest. He was one
Oh,
of the biggest spinners out here at the radio station. And I was like, they might like it, they might not. He's like, all right, man. He said, so he was like, hey, you know what? He said, this is PJ Butter's bootlegs. Da 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 da. He's like, I want to play something from y'all. So just he said, it's produced and written by Tim and Bob. He was like, da 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 da. So it's called Slow Down. Check it out, man. I'm gonna tell you, man. As soon as he put it on, his board lit up, man.
wow.
So I had to take the questions, right? So while the song going, I'm talking to the people. They was like, They was like, what was you guys thinking about this? So I'm like, wow, man, I think I created something. I think I created like people gonna want this sound, man. Because like, you know what I mean? I had so many of them samples because I had so many, again, like I had so many Indian and Asian sounds, man. It's ridiculous. I still do to this day. So I was like, I think I created something. And then with Bob doing what he's doing on there, it just sounds a little different. So so then everybody just start coming to us and saying they want that sound.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that category.
Somewhere in between.
For even loving us, on which I didn't miss you with.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple pieces.
Trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No, okay, you're okay.
They don't understand what Jonas Boyz II Men and all spirits.
Play it.
I mean, I love all different genres.